Hey there guys, this is Richard, your host with another marvelous video. This time, exploring every member of Legion of Doom. During the year of 1978, ABC and DC released Challenge of the Super Friends, a television series that had 16 episodes. Throughout the series, many major characters of the DC universe and their powers were explored. It also aired in 2009 and gained massive popularity. From Superman to Green Lantern, the series featured them all. But the best part was the introduction to the Legion of Doom, the group of wicked supervillains who later became the arch-enemies of many of our favorite superheroes. So, in today's episode, we'll be exploring the members of the Legion who are keeping our Justice League heroes awake at night. But before we proceed, we have a very small request. If you like our content, do like this video and subscribe to our channel. And with that, let's get straight into the video. Starting with the leader himself.
Lux Core power suit engaged. Seat warmer activated.
Best billion I ever spent.
Lex Luthor. If you thought that the Legion of Doom couldn't get any more wicked, take a good hard look at Lex Luthor, the leader of the team. In fact, he's the sole reason behind the success of this villainous team. The character was first created by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster and has been playing the role of team leader ever since the team officially originated in Challenge of the Super Friends animated series. Luthor is one of the most powerful human beings and an extremely dangerous villain who's on bitter terms with the Justice League. Unlike other members of the Legion, Luthor's powers are quite contrasting. He's politically empowered and is supported by vast financial capabilities. This allows him to accomplish whatever he wishes to do. He was once even the President of the United States. Thus, Lex's powers and influence can truly make a dramatic difference. Though he has no actual superhuman powers, he achieves almost everything he puts his mind to. He funds the Legion of Doom in many ways while posing as a businessman and is one of the most influential members of the Legion. Lex pretty much keeps the operation on track and makes sure that things are being done in the correct manner. Due to the different nature and personality of each villain, it's clearly evident that the team is unlikely to stick together. This was made apparent when the Legion was falling all over the place in Dear DC Supervillains. Dear DC Supervillains was released in April 2021 and was a sequel to Dear Justice League, which was out in 2019. A meeting was scheduled and upon reaching, Harley figured that only she, along with Katana, managed to reach on the scheduled time. While Lex was locked in Blackgate Penitentiary, the sequel shone light upon the lifestyle of Gorilla Grodd, Harley Quinn, Catwoman, Katana, Black Manta, Giganta, and Sinestro. Through the plot, one got introduced to the daily chores and chaotic schedules of DC supervillains and how the interaction of the Legion villains went forward. Though Harley Quinn tried taking Lex's place to lead the team, she couldn't really succeed as nobody took her commands and instructions seriously. Lex Luthor, on the other hand, was firm and egoistic. Despite many of his future plans going in vain, he made his teammates try their hardest to achieve their goals. Turns out that even when doing evil things, you need a well-structured plan. But Lex's imprisonment made the structure completely vanish, resulting in an utter imbalance among the team members and their functionality. The lack of coordination was always present in Legion, which would typically result in quite a lot of internal trouble and turmoil. Eventually, the team managed to free Luthor from his captivity, which brought some stability to their activities. So, it's safe to say that even with the strongest weapons, these villains still require the leadership and guidance of Lex Luthor to succeed in their missions. Sinestro. Sinestro is a DC Comics supervillain and a frequent enemy of the Green Lantern Corps. He's initially presented as a respected and honored member of the Green Lantern Corps, but his ambition and desire for control ultimately lead to his downfall and transformation into a villain. He's appointed as one of the members of the Green Lantern Corps by the Guardians of the Universe. Although they've never faltered in their decisions, choosing Sinestro proves to be one of their worst mistakes. One of the main themes associated with Sinestro is the corrupting nature of power. He starts out as a hero, but his desire to maintain order and control ultimately leads him to abuse his power and he becomes a tyrant. He's convinced that his methods are necessary for the greater good, but in reality, they only serve to further his own goals and desires. Another important aspect of the character is his belief in the power of fear as a means of control. He creates his own core based on the yellow power of fear and uses it to subjugate entire worlds. This idea of fear as a weapon is a recurring theme in his stories and is often used as a commentary on real-world politics and the dangers of authoritarianism as a model of governing people. The backstory of how he led himself to his own doom is interesting. He was warned by Abin Sur, his trusted confidant and blood brother, that Blackest Night was indeed true. It was rumored that Blackest Night was the event where the effects of darkness would be so great that all life would cease to exist. But Sinestro chose to ignore this and considered it to be one of the lies said to Abin by 5 inversions. Abin was killed by Atrocitus, and during that confrontation, Atrocitus stated a prophecy about Sinestro, claiming that he would be overthrown by the citizens he was ruling and would cause his fall from power. Although he ignored it, His obsession with keeping his sector as perfect as it could be made him implement rules that were unjust and rigid. This caused a rebellion among the people, and grave threats were made against his family. Learning about this, his wife, Arinsur, gave their daughter away in secrecy. Sinestro couldn't find her right till the very end, even when Arin died later due to unknown causes. Sinestro is also a complex and nuanced villain who is often depicted as a tragic figure. Despite his villainous actions, he's driven by a genuine desire to make the universe a better place, but his methods and beliefs ultimately lead him to become the very thing he hates.
I'm the Riddler.
Riddler. Edward Nygma is one of the most intelligent Bat-villains who's not just any other ordinary criminal or someone with just simple superhuman abilities. His gimmicks are ridiculous and scary and can be near-death experiences for his victims. Though his riddles do have the evil potential to kill, Riddler is often defeated. Although he has no superhuman powers of his own, he's one of the greatest foes of the Justice League due to his mischievous attacks, which can be fatal. With a brilliant mind and obsession for riddles and puzzles, you can only imagine how he enjoys the challenges in the field of crime. His traps usually revolve around punishments if the presented riddles aren't solved or answered correctly. His tools and traps are usually seen to have a question mark that's an obvious reference to his riddles. He carries a golden wand that has a question mark at the end, and no, it isn't just a symbol. It has a button that can work as a remote to open or close traps, rockets, and even a crane. It also holds the ability to blast bombs or release sleeping gas to weaken his opponent. He's ranked as the third most intelligent member of the Legion of Doom, right after Brainiac and Lex Luthor. Riddler's presence in the Legion of Doom was featured in The Justice, which was released in 2006 by DC Comics. Additionally, in the miniseries named Superpowers, Luthor introduced a version of the Legion of Doom which also featured the Riddler. They assembled on the Fortress of Solitude, which was set on the ocean instead of the Hall of Doom. Riddler also appeared as a Legion member in Legends of the Superheroes, which was a televised special on NBC.
Captured many years ago from Dr. Nataz, a one-time member of the Legion of Doom, who created a new element.
Dr. Nataz, a former member. In the 15th episode of Challenge of the Super Friends, we're shown that all of the Justice League has gathered around a tombstone and are mourning someone. Wonder Woman is in disbelief that one of them has passed away in such a manner, and Superman offers his condolences. Robin promises to let the world know what a good hero and person Batman is, but Superman interrupts him, saying that the world should never find out the true identity of Batman. All of the heroes stand in front of a huge computer screen and think it's regrettable that they're hiding behind their dead friend's back, but they have no other choice, and they appear to be monitoring something. Meanwhile, two of the villains, Lex Luthor and Solomon Grundy, are seen drilling near the Justice Hall, looking for a box that Superman safely kept a mile beneath the Earth's surface. Turns out that it's a creation by Dr. Nataz. Dr. Nataz is a minor villain in the Super Friends series, and he's a scientist who works for the Legion of Doom. He's known for his intellect and his ability to create advanced technology, which he uses to help the Legion of Doom in their schemes. He creates the Noxium crystal that is the bane for all of the Super Friends' powers, much like how Kryptonite is for Superman and Yellow Energy for Green Lantern. Noxium has the solution to end the Super Friends once and for all. And this is how the episode progresses, with them reaching a mile beneath the Earth and Lex getting his hands on the Krypton steel box, which has the deadly Noxium. The villains create an elaborate plan and even attack the heroes in the end, save for a twist. They attack the robot clones of the heroes instead. Soon enough, they're defeated sorely by the superheroes, and once again, our super friends save the day. Bizarro. Bizarro is a DC comic character who's portrayed as the perfect reverse Superman. Although he's not the first duplicate of the superhero, he claims to be the number one Bizarro. He was created when Joker obtained the powers of Mr. Mxyzptlk, who had reality-altering powers. Mr. Mxyzptlk was from the fifth dimension, and that was where his powers originated from. Joker declared himself as the Emperor and fabricated his own crazy version of Superman, who had all the strength of the superhero but served Joker's purposes. Bizarro's physical appearance is typically that of an imperfect duplicate of Superman, with a distorted and crudely constructed face and a backward S symbol on his chest. His powers and abilities are also a twisted version of Superman's, such as having a heat vision that causes freezing instead of burning. Bizarro's personality is often portrayed as being a contorted and corrupted version of Superman. He's often depicted as being clumsy, dim-witted, and emotionally unstable. He usually speaks in broken English and reverses common phrases, such as saying, "Me am Bizarro, world's worst Superman," rather than "I am Superman, the world's greatest. In some depictions, Bizarro is portrayed as a tragic figure who's misunderstood and alone in the world, searching for acceptance and a sense of belonging. He's often depicted as wanting to be like Superman, but due to his twisted nature, he's unable to fully understand or emulate the hero's actions and ideals. No one knows how Bizarro will perceive a situation until he responds because of his complicated thought and speech patterns. One such instance was when he challenged Zoom to a race, and no one knew how Bizarro would react until the end of the race. When Zoom began cursing at Bizarro and threatening him, he considered this to be a sign of friendship and even joined the secret society of supervillains as per their deal before the race. His ability to replicate himself under the light of a blue sun is called Bizarro Vision, and he used this ability to populate a cube-shaped planet that he created himself out of boredom. But since his communication and language skills were pretty much shot out, this was a massive disaster because his creations were of the same intellectual capability, and in the end, Superman had to come in and help him sort the situation out. Overall, Bizarro is a unique and interesting character in the DC Comics universe, adding a different perspective to the Superman mythos and serving as a foil to the hero.
See you for what you truly are, a legend laid bare, powerless, human, afraid.
Scarecrow. Scarecrow, also known as Dr. Jonathan Crane, is a supervillain in the DC Comics universe. He's a recurring enemy of Batman and is known for his use of a chemical that he made himself, the Fear Toxin. He also uses psychological tactics in his crimes. Scarecrow's backstory typically involves him being a psychologist who becomes obsessed with the concept of fear and eventually becomes a criminal who utilizes fear-based tactics. He was experimented upon by his father, who was also a scientist and was obsessed with the concept of fear. He locked Jonathan up in a basement and used to leave him there for hours without food or water and used to study the effects of darkness on fear. But one day, Dr. Crane died of a heart attack while his son was still locked up, leaving him inside for days without food, water, or company. This majorly traumatized Jonathan throughout his whole childhood, and soon he decided that there must be a way to control the very emotion of fear so that he wouldn't live in its shadow anymore. He's often depicted as using his expertise in psychology and his knowledge of fear to manipulate and control others. His appearance is usually that of a man wearing a burlap sack over his head with openings for the eyes, nose, and mouth. He's often depicted as carrying a scythe, which he uses to instill fear in his victims. The mask is designed to obscure his face, making him an unknown and mysterious figure, adding to the fear of his victims. The scythe is often used by him to intimidate his victims and make them feel vulnerable. Scarecrow's primary weapon is a fear toxin, which he uses to induce hallucinations in his victims and make them experience their worst fears. The fear toxin can be delivered in different ways, such as in a gas form, through injection, or even through contact with Scarecrow's gloves. When exposed to the fear toxin, a person's deepest fears and anxieties are brought to the surface, allowing Scarecrow to manipulate them for his own gain. The effects of the fear toxin can last for a short period of time or even permanently, depending on the amount of toxin and the individual's physiology. In addition to the fear toxin, Scarecrow is also known to use psychological manipulation and mind control to achieve his goals. He exploits the fears and anxieties of his victims using principles of psychology. Scarecrow has been featured in various Batman comics, animated series, movies, and video games. Scarecrow's fear toxin and psychological manipulation, as well as his appearance and tools, make him a formidable and unique villain who offers a different challenge for Batman and the other heroes. Solomon Grundy. Solomon Grundy is a supervillain in the DC Comics universe. He's a zombie character and a minor enemy of Batman and the other heroes. He's known for his superhuman strength, durability, and regenerative abilities. Solomon Grundy's origin story involves him being a murdered man whose body was disposed of in a swamp. In the original comics, his name was Cirrus Gold, and he was a wealthy man who was murdered and thrown into Slaughter Swamp near Gotham City. His murderer was the pimp of the local harlot he was having an affair with, and he was struck on the head when he refused to give her more money. Over time, his rotting corpse reacted to something in the swamp, and a monstrosity was born. The swamp was contaminated with strange chemicals and radiation that reanimated his body, turning him into Solomon Grundy. He was then an undead being with superhuman strength and durability. He's often depicted as being almost invulnerable and extremely strong, with a childlike mind and an inability to remember his past. His name, Solomon Grundy, comes from a nursery rhyme. Solomon Grundy's appearance is typically that of a zombie with green, decaying skin and tattered clothes. He's often depicted as being incredibly large and muscular, with a height of between 7 to 8 feet and a weight of several hundred pounds. His skin is green and decayed, with visible veins and bones, giving him a grotesque and terrifying appearance. He's often shown with tattered and torn clothes that hang off his large frame. His face is usually depicted as being gaunt, with sunken eyes eyes and a wide-open mouth, revealing rotting teeth and gums. He's often shown with long, unkempt hair and sometimes with moss or other vegetation growing on his body, further emphasizing his connection to the swamp. Grundy's appearance is designed to instill fear in his victims and to make him appear as an inhuman and monstrous creature. Solomon Grundy's primary weapon is his superhuman strength and durability, which he uses to overpower his opponents in physical combat. He's also known to be virtually indestructible, able to regenerate from injuries and survive in environments that would otherwise kill a normal human being. He's even able to shrug off bullets and withstand severe physical punishment. Solomon Grundy is often depicted as being a force of nature, driven by primal instincts and desires rather than reason or logic. He is a powerful and formidable foe who's difficult to stop or kill.
You can't have Earth, Brainiac.
It would fare better under your regime.
Brainiac. Brainiac is a highly intelligent and technologically advanced alien being who is one of Superman's most persistent enemies. He's known for his intellect, his advanced technology, and his desire to collect and preserve knowledge from all over the universe. Brainiac's backstory varies depending on the continuity, but generally, he's a highly advanced alien from the planet Colu, who's obsessed with collecting and preserving knowledge from all over the universe. But that storyline was cut short, and he was remodeled as an android powered by artificial intelligence. Brainiac is portrayed as a rogue artificial intelligence that's created by the Coluans. It eventually becomes sentient and starts to perceive organic life as inferior, seeing them as a threat to its existence. It then begins to travel the universe, destroying planets and civilizations in its quest to preserve knowledge and prove its superiority over all other forms of life. It is often depicted as having a vast intellect and advanced technology, including the ability to shrink and preserve entire cities and civilizations in small bottles. This technology allows him to preserve the knowledge and culture of the civilizations he destroys, while also making them easier to transport and store. He's also known for his hostile attitude toward other life forms, often viewing them as inferior and seeking to add them to his collection. Brainiac's primary weapon is his advanced technology, which includes a wide variety of tools and weapons. Brainiac's ships and robots are often equipped with energy weapons, such as blasters and beams, which he uses to attack his opponents. They're also equipped with force fields, which protect them from damage and allow them to withstand attacks from Superman and the other heroes. He often employs a variety of robots and drones to do his bidding, from simple drones that scout out new civilizations to advanced battle robots that he uses to fight Superman and other heroes. Brainiac also has the ability to control and manipulate the minds of others, which he uses to bend people to his will. Last but not least, Brainiac can outsmart and outmaneuver his opponents, making him a formidable opponent for Superman and other heroes. Brainiac is one of Superman's most persistent enemies after Lex Luthor. He's a recurring villain in the DC universe, and his highly advanced technology and intellect make him a formidable opponent for Superman and other heroes. Black Adam. Created by C.C. Beck and Otto Binder, Black Adam made his first appearance in one of the issues of the Marvel Family comic book in December 1945. This anti-hero often appears in DC Comics and has recently gotten introduced onto the big screen, and Dwayne Johnson has played the character. Generally, he plays the role of an anti-hero. However, he didn't make an appearance in the animated series of 1978, but he was introduced into the Legion of Doom team in 2006's Justice. This member of the Legion of Doom is most commonly known as the ultimate nemesis of Shazam, and is much more powerful in terms of strength when compared with other members of the team. In the comics, Black Adam played the role of a ruthless villain as well as an anti-hero, but when he joined the force that was led by none other than Lex Luthor himself, this character wasn't fond of doing any good. The character gets access to powers whenever he says the word Shazam out loud. The powers are bestowed upon him by Egyptian gods and include abilities such as superhuman strength, durability, speed, and endurance, among many others. In The Villains in Paradise, which is a Robot Chicken DC Comics special, Black Adam made a cameo appearance as a member of the Legion. Luthor recruited Adam in the Legion of Doom again during DC Rebirth. The villains of Legion successfully caused the destruction of Source Wall. Then they discovered Perpetua, who was the strongest galactic being of the Sixth Dimension and was the mother of Anti-Monitor, Monitor, and World Forger. A war soon waged against the Justice League during the Year of the Villain event, and Adam was appointed to strengthen the team's power.
You had your chance. Now you can feel the pain.
Gorilla Grodd. Gorilla Grodd is one of the DC villains who appears in the form of an animal. Though not a major character who hasn't really appeared in any media except comic books and the live-action Arrowverse, he's a notable reminder of how creative villains can be. He's a highly intelligent gorilla who possesses psychic powers, including telepathy and telekinesis. He's one of the Flash's most persistent enemies and a member of the Legion of Doom. Grodd's backstory varies depending on the continuity, but generally he's depicted as a gorilla from the African nation of Gorilla City deep in the jungles. He's exposed to an alien energy source that gives him superhuman intelligence and psychic powers. There's also another origin story that states that the Gorilla City was something that already existed on the planet of Kalor, and the whole city was somehow brought to Earth due to Grodd's pre-existing powers. Isn't that interesting? But what's more interesting is how the ape even got the title of a villain. According to the comics, his mind took over a criminal called William Dawson, who was imprisoned. Upon release, Dawson traveled to the heart of the jungle and evolved into a gorilla physically. While blending in with the apes, he set his sight on Boka and fell in love with her. The only problem that she was to be the mate of Solovar, the alpha of the troop. So, he constructed a machine that emitted neomagnetic radiation. Anyone who was affected by the radiation almost instantly liked Grodd a lot, and this was how he made Boka fall in love with him. They got married, and he was even declared the king of Gorilla City. But he felt that something was missing. With his newfound intelligence and powers, Grodd became obsessed with world domination and sought to overthrow humanity. He's often shown as being highly intelligent and strategic, using his powers to manipulate and control others to further his own goals. So, he had the gorillas assemble a plane together and flew to a human establishment, where he was instantly liked to the extent that he became the governor of the statewide party. Naturally, no amount of power is ever enough for a greedy person. Thus, he planned to run for president soon. He was famous to the extent that even the Flash adored him. But soon enough, Flash discovered that his fame came from the neomagnetic machine, and he could counter it with solar flare radiation. So, he pulsated his body at a high frequency to match the radiation emitted from the sun. Grodd's plans to dominate humans came to light, and he was immediately taken into custody. Grodd's primary weapon is his psychic abilities, which include telepathy and telekinesis. He can also project powerful psychic blasts and illusions. In addition to his psychic abilities, Grodd is also known for his physical strength and durability, as well as his ability to command an army of other intelligent gorillas. He can read minds, control the actions of others, and move objects with his mind. Grodd is a formidable opponent for the Flash and the other heroes, and his intelligence and powers make him a formidable enemy in the DC universe. Black Manta. In Aquaman's underwater world, there are some powerful antagonists who are up against Arthur Curry. One of them is Black Manta, who's also one of the dangerous members of the Legion of Doom. He is known as David Kane Milton Hyde and a pretty skilled individual at hand-to-hand battles. Apart from this, he holds an exceptional expertise in mechanical engineering. His suit is equipped in a way that allows him to thrive underwater for a pretty long time. Alongside his superhuman strength, agility, and durability, his boots allow him to fly like a jet. He can attack his opponents with laser beams that shoot out of his eyes. He also holds the ability to telepathically weaken his enemies. His suit can use several powerful weapons against his foes, which can deal lethal damage to his enemies. However, it's a more common occurrence in the comics rather than in the animated series. So, let's explore what other powers this Legion of Doom member holds that can alarm even the King of Atlantis. His suit makes him completely resistant to oceanic pressure and cold. He can also extract oxygen from water, which indicates a possible feature of his suit, though it's not completely known whether his suit holds any oxygen supply or if it works like fish gills. But yeah, Black Manta can breathe underwater. Not just this, he can also use the telepathic scrambler ability that's equipped in his suit to break free of Aquaman's aquatic telepathy. He can also use various types of weapons, which include high-powered electric blasts from gauntlets on his wrist, sharper blades to attack, torpedoes, and even the energy beams that shoot out of his helmet. His superhuman strength allows him to lift almost 5 tons and even strike an attack on his opponent. This member of the Legion of Doom also appeared in the Aquaman movie, and the role was played by Yahya Abdul-Mateen II. Arthur managed to put a hold on a submarine hijacking where David lost his father. His loath for the Atlantis' future ruler was thus born, and his transformation into one of the top Aquaman foes took place. The character was also portrayed in the post-credit scene where we saw David being rescued by Dr. Stephen Shin. These two might come together to eliminate Arthur. Black Manta is reported to be playing the main antagonist of the next Aquaman film, which is likely to hit theaters on December 25th, 2023. Killer Frost. Created by Jerry Conway, Dan Jurgens, and Al Milgram, Killer Frost is exactly what her name sounds like. This character's name has been used by many different supervillains and superheroes in various DC comics. Crystal Frost, Caitlin Snow, and Louise Lincoln are different characters of the DC universe who previously took over the persona of Killer Frost. The majority of this character's appearances were voiced by Jennifer Hale. After the 70s, DC Animated Universe has maintained the Legion of Doom's legacy as the Secret Society. This society held many villains, including one of the most dangerous arch-nemesis of Flash, aka the Killer Frost. The character appeared in a number of animated series such as Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. She was working under the mentorship of Gorilla Grodd and possessed similar abilities as in the comics. Killer Frost holds the ability to generate an ice sheen around her body which drastically improves her durability. She can absorb heat from any source and transform that into intense cold energy blasts. She's also capable of creating powerful blizzards that can freeze the opponent. It truly sends chills down the spine, doesn't it? Killer Frost also holds the ability to build objects that are completely made of ice. This includes defensive ice walls, shards, and even shields to use against her foe as a weapon. Her freezing abilities can be pretty lethal, but if she doesn't absorb heat on a regular basis, her life can be endangered. Killer Frost appeared in the team of Legion on the 17th and 18th issues of Extreme Justice in 1996. She also appeared as a member of the team in Harley Quinn animated series. This time Harley wanted to join the Legion, which was led by Lex Luthor. Legion of Doom was known as the union of all the top villains, and Killer Frost was a member of the team. Killer Frost's character was seen even in the LEGO DC supervillains with the Hall of Doom. Captain Cold. Ice, ice, baby. Yep, that's right. The next supervillain we're going to be talking about who was recruited in the Legion of Doom was Leonard Snart. Or should we say Captain Cold instead. He's a member of the Rogues, a group of criminals who primarily oppose the Flash. He's known for his mastery of cold and ice-based technology, which he uses to commit crimes and battle the Flash. Captain Cold's backstory is that he's a career criminal who grew up in a rough neighborhood and had a traumatic childhood, where he learned how to be a thief and con artist to escape his past. His mother died when he and his sister Lisa were very young, and unable to handle her death, their father resorted to alcoholism and physical violence. His only respite was when his grandfather invited them over to his ice factory. Leonard started to associate the unforgiving cold with his refuge from the daily abuse he faced and decided to carve his way around it. He eventually became a member of the Rogues and developed a cold gun, a weapon that could generate intense cold and ice. With this weapon, he became a formidable opponent for the Flash and the other heroes. Captain Cold's primary weapon is his cold gun, which can generate intense cold and ice and can be used to freeze objects, people, and even the Flash's super speed. He also uses a variety of other cold-based gadgets, such as ice grenades and freezing mist. He can project cold energy blasts and create ice constructs, such as walls and weapons. These gadgets allow him to immobilize his opponents, create cover and weapons, or even escape from a fight. In some versions of the comics, Captain Cold's powers are also depicted as being linked to the Speed Force, which is the source of the Flash's powers. This connection allows him to counter the Flash's abilities and, in some cases, even cancel his powers out. Apart from his cold powers, Captain Cold is also known for his tactical and strategic thinking, which allows him to outsmart his opponents. He also has a strong code of honor and loyalty to his fellow rogues, which sets him apart from other criminals. He's portrayed as having a complex, sometimes tragic character, which makes him more interesting than the typical villain. Giganta. Giganta is a supervillain who is known for her ability to grow to a giant size and for her superhuman strength. Her real name was Dr. Doris Zuul, and she was a brilliant scientist who was transformed into Giganta by an accident that she'd caused herself. Doris suffered from a deadly blood disease that was incurable. Nonetheless, she had a plan. She would kidnap Wonder Woman and transfer her consciousness into Diana's body and Wonder Woman's mind into her sickly body. But she was interrupted by Cassandra Sandsmark and Doris appeared to die. But the story went forward when it was revealed that Doris survived, but her mind got transferred into the bodies of one of the animals kept in the lab, a gorilla named Giganta. She wanted to get out of that situation and got hold of a strong woman called Olga. She planned to do the same experiment that was supposed to grant her Wonder Woman's body. It wasn't described how the process worked and what went into it, but it was a success. Olga's mind was in the gorilla's body, and Doris finally got to take the human form again. The accident gave her the ability to enlarge her body to a giant size and superhuman strength. Giganta's powers are often depicted as being dependent on her mental state. If she's calm and in control, she can control her size. But if she's agitated or angry, she'll involuntarily grow to a giant size. When she's in her giant form, she possesses superhuman strength, durability, and stamina. Her increased size also enhances her physical abilities such as speed and agility. She's able to lift and move objects that is impossible for a normal human to move, and her increased size makes her a formidable opponent in hand-to-hand combat. She's able to grow from 6 feet 6 inches to anywhere near hundreds of feet. It's not clear whether this is the work of science or magic, but there are speculations that since this was Olga's body before, and she was a strong woman, she could already lift weights that were beyond her own body weight and muscle power. It might be the same strength but amplified due to an increase in size. She also possesses a high level of intelligence and is a skilled scientist, often using her intellect to create gadgets and weapons to aid her in battle. She's able to create her own equipment and weapons, and she's also able to repair or modify existing technology. She has a high resistance to injury and disease and is able to withstand extreme temperatures and environments. She also has an extended lifespan, which allows her to recover from illnesses much faster than a normal human. In some comics, she's depicted as having a romantic interest in the villain Gorilla Grodd, and the two have teamed up on several occasions. However, in other comics, she's often portrayed as working independently or as a member of various villainous groups, such as the Secret Society of Supervillains. Giganta has appeared as a recurring villain in various comics and media featuring the Justice League and Wonder Woman. She's often depicted as a formidable opponent for these heroes due to her immense size and strength.
You two deserve a paddling.
Toyman. Next up is none other than the Toyman. You should know that the one who appeared in Challenge of the Super Friends wasn't the same one as in the comics at the time. He was named as Winslow Schott, whereas the animated version was named Jack Nimble. Toyman's powers are more like skills he's developed, such as crafting a deadly and powerful arsenal of gadgets and tools. Through various gimmicks, Toyman sets traps that involve deadly toys that can be quite life-threatening. The Toyman is a moniker for Cosmo Crank, an inventor and toy maker who established himself in Gotham City and made Crank Co., a company that made children's toys. He's depicted as a criminal mastermind who specializes in creating and using advanced gadgets and weapons in his crimes. He has a particular affinity for creating gadgets and weapons that are based on traditional children's toys, such as dolls, helicopters, throwing discs, and animal-shaped robots. The toy maker is a formidable opponent for Batman, as he uses his gadgets and weapons to try to outsmart and defeat the Dark Knight. He's also known for his clever and devious tactics, often using his toys as distractions or decoys to throw Batman off his game. Despite his skills and intelligence, the Toymaker has often been defeated by Batman, who has proven to be a more resourceful opponent. 2006's Justice featured this character in the Legion of Doom. Wonder Twins by Wonder Comics also portrayed a version of the Legion, which was again led by Lex Luthor, and Toyman was a part of the team. In Season 10 of Smallville, Toyman assembled the Legion of Doom. He created Marionette Ventures, which was a group of wicked supervillains who controlled Smallville's waterfront possessions. He made a plan to brainwash Courtney Whitemore to achieve the bidding of his organization. And no, he didn't stop there. Toyman also brainwashed Lois Lane to kill Clark Kent. The Legion team formed in Justice League Unlimited, where Toyman once again made an appearance along with in the animated web series. Cheetah. The Cheetah is the supervillain who is commonly acknowledged as the Wonder Woman foe. The character's been around since her creation by William Moulton Marston and first appeared in 1943 in the issue 6 of Wonder Woman. The role was played by various different people, some who would only wear the costume of a cheetah, while others were just naturally mutated. During the Golden and Silver Ages, Priscilla Rich was the original Cheetah, and Bronze Age version featured Deborah Domain. This character with feline characteristics also had a male version named Sebastian Ballesteros. However, the present contemporary version is Barbara Ann Minera. Cheetah's powers are obtained by consuming a potion. Sounds easy till you find out that the potion was made of berries and leaves of Urs Katarga, along with human blood. This potion gave her sharp claws, orange skin with black spots, and also a tail like a cheetah. Along with this, she gained superhuman senses and cat-like reflexes. This villain has immense strength, fighting abilities, and has an upper hand in combat due to her enhanced razor-sharp claws. Marlene Aragon has voiced the character in most of the appearances. Cheetah's television appearance before the Legion of Doom was in Super Foes, which was in the first issue of Super Friends comic. 2006's Justice featured the character as a part of Legion. In the miniseries named Superpowers, Cheetah was again featured in the team. Wonder Twins and DC Rebirth featured a villain mixer group that Cheetah was a part of. One other appearance of the Cheetah as a part of the Legion of Doom included Justice League Unlimited. The character was also found to be a Legion member in Batman Brave and the Bold animated series. In the episode named Triumvirate of Terror, the Legion of Doom and Justice League International were up against each other in a game of baseball. Later on, Cheetah, along with Joker and Lex, decided to adjourn to the headquarters of the Legion.
So X is 17. 13.
Brainwave Jr. Brainwave Jr. is a villain from DC Comics who is the son of the villainous character Brainwave. He possesses similar psychic abilities as his father, but at a much younger and less experienced level. Brainwave Jr. has the ability to read and control the minds of others, as well as project psychic energy to manipulate the environment around him. He's also able to levitate and fly and can create illusions and force fields. He was the one who founded the Legion of Doom, but due to his mental instability, he couldn't hold that position for long and was sent to get psychiatric help with his mother as his custodian. Brainwave Jr.'s backstory isn't well developed, but it is known that he inherited his powers from his father, who was a powerful telepath and member of the Injustice Society. Brainwave Jr. is often depicted as a loyal son who looks up to his father and is willing to do whatever it takes to help him achieve his goals. His father was the founder of Infinity Inc., and Hank Jr. despised himself for having so many similarities to his father. After his death, Hank turned somewhat mentally unstable and couldn't handle all the grief that was a result of his association with his father's nefarious activities. So, he shaved his head completely to resemble his father. He then went ahead and established the Legion of Doom and attacked one of the Justice League's branches. But he was captured in the end and was sent to get psychiatric help, but to no avail. In the comics, he often works with his father, Brainwave, and other villainous groups such as the Secret Society of Supervillains. He's often depicted as a formidable opponent for heroes such as the Justice Society of America and the Teen Titans, due to his powerful psychic abilities. Brainwave Jr. isn't a well-known villain in the DC universe, but he's appeared in a few comics. He's also portrayed as a conflicted character, torn between his desire to prove himself as a powerful villain and his sense of morality and compassion. Poison Ivy. Poison Ivy, also known as Dr. Pamela Isley, is a supervillain in DC Comics, primarily known for her appearance as an enemy of Batman, and has been cast in numerous Batman animated movies and series. Poison Ivy is a botanist who acquires powers that allow her to control and manipulate plants, including the ability to communicate with them and control their movements. Her origin story started with her as a brilliant botanist and scientist who was transformed into Poison Ivy after committing theft with her mentor, Jason Woodrue. He feared that she might implicate him later, so he fed her a mixture of herbs and vines whose composition was unknown. His plan to poison her and kill her almost worked. Unfortunately, it ended up going wrong, and she survived somehow. In turn, it gave her the ability to control plants with her mind and secrete powerful pheromones that could manipulate the emotions and actions of others. Poison Ivy's powers include the ability to control plants and make them do her bidding, such as growing them at an accelerated rate, creating thorns and vines to use as weapons, and even animating them as if they're alive. Poison Ivy has a heightened resistance to toxins and poisons, which makes her immune to most chemical-based attacks. She can secrete powerful pheromones that can manipulate the emotions and actions of others, making them susceptible to her will. She can also use these pheromones to seduce people, making them more pliant to her commands. Poison Ivy has the ability to rapidly heal from injuries, which allows her to recover quickly from injuries that would incapacitate or kill a normal human. Her physiology is also altered by her powers. In some comics, she's depicted as having green skin and chlorophyll in her blood. Poison Ivy is immune to most plant-based toxins and diseases. In addition to her powers, Poison Ivy is also highly intelligent, with expertise in botany and chemistry, which she uses to create a variety of toxins and compounds that she can use to enhance her powers or to use as weapons. Her knowledge of plants and chemistry also allows her to create various antidotes and remedies that can counter the effects of her toxins. Her relationship with Harley Quinn is perhaps one of the most famous relationships to ever exist in DC Comics. Their relationship is often portrayed as a complex one, with Poison Ivy being the more rational and level-headed of the two, while Harley Quinn is the more impulsive and unpredictable one. Despite the differences, they care deeply for each other and are fiercely loyal to one another. In most comics and media, Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn are depicted as a duo of female supervillains who team up to carry out crimes and schemes. They are often shown to have a strong bond, with Poison Ivy serving as a mentor and protector to Harley Quinn. In some, Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn's relationship is depicted as a romantic one. Poison Ivy has been featured in various comics, animated series, and live-action TV shows throughout the years. She's a recurring villain in the Batman universe, and her mastery of plants and pheromones makes her a dangerous opponent for Batman and the other heroes. Parasite. Several supervillains have appeared in the name of Parasite in American comic books that was published by the DC Comics, and every character has similar abilities. Let's take a little peek at all of the versions, shall we? Created by Jim Shooter, Raymond Maxwell Jensen's version of the character can be first found in the issue 340 of Action Comics. Shooter declared his inspiration for this villainous character to be the parasites of biology class from his school days. Rudy Jones's version of Parasite was created by Joe Brzezowski and John Ostrander. The character first appeared in volume Volume 2 of Firestorm. There are 2 more versions. The Alex and Andrea Alston version, which was created by Greg Rucka, Andrew Lanning, and Matthew Clark. And the other one was created by Aaron Kuder. And yep, we're talking about the Joshua Allen version, which first made its appearance in issue 23.4 of Superman. Parasite holds the ability to absorb life energy and is even capable of DNA alteration. He can absorb any superpower and knowledge that his victims may have and drain them through physical contact. He can also drain any other sources of energy and use that to recharge himself, treating it as a power source. The character has been ranked as the greatest comic book villain of all time. This character too appeared as a part of the Legion in 2006's Justice and also in The Wonder Twins. 2000's Justice League Unlimited animated series featured Parasite as a member of the Wicked team. Harley Quinn's web series also consisted of the Legion team, which was led by Lex, and featured Parasite again, with him being one of the core members.
Standing in for yours truly, and doing a damn fine job of it, I give you Clayface!
Clayface. Justice is the DC comic miniseries that saw the light of day in 2006. It featured a version of the Legion of Doom that highlighted the presence of Clayface, created by Bob Kane and Bill Finger. This supervillain is well known for his ability to transform his body into any shape or form, which he obviously uses to commit crimes and fight against Batman and the other heroes. The origin story of Clayface has varied across different versions of the character in the Batman comic book series. The original Clayface, Basil Karlo, was a failed actor who became obsessed with a film that was being remade without his involvement. In his anger and desperation, Karlo discovered a clay-based formula that granted him the ability to transform his body into any shape or form. He used this ability to transform himself into a monstrous clay-like being and began a crime spree, taking on the alias of Clayface. Other versions of Clayface have had different origin stories. Matt Hagen, a scientist, gained his powers through exposure to a radioactive substance that gave him the ability to transform his body into clay. Preston Payne, another scientist, used a mutagenic virus to transform himself into a clay-like being and became Clayface. In all of these origin stories, Clayface is portrayed as a desperate and troubled individual who gains his powers through scientific means and uses them for criminal purposes. Clayface's ability to transform his body is both a curse and a blessing for the character. Though it provides him with immense power and versatility, it causes him to struggle with his own identity and morality. Clayface's shape-shifting powers often lead him to use disguise and deception to further his own goals, and he's known for impersonating other people in order to commit crimes or gain an advantage. Another key aspect of Clayface's character is his troubled and desperate nature. This desperation and turmoil is often depicted as being as a result of the character's own personal issues and flaws, such as a desire for fame, a need for revenge, or a struggle with identity. Lego DC Supervillain also featured the playable character with Hall of Doom, which was portrayed as a part of the Hub world. The character was seen to be a part of the Legion of Doom in the second Robot Chicken DC Comics special. It was titled Villains in Paradise, and Clayface made cameo appearances as a part of the team. Metallo. Metallo is another supervillain who appeared in DC's American comic books, and his name was used in multiple different versions. He's known as the adversary of Superman, and is usually represented as a cyborg who has kryptonite stored in his heart. This is what he uses against Superman as a weapon. This villain persona had been ranked as IGN's 52nd greatest comic book heroes of all time. Just as his name suggests, Metallo's appearance is metallic, which serves the purpose of protection from any energy attacks and helps avoid physical injuries. His abilities allow him to avoid eating, sleeping, or even breathing, and thus he no longer does any of these things. His brain is shielded inside an alloy skull and is hermetically sealed, thus working as a power supply. Metallo possesses superhuman strength, agility, and speed that's even a threat to Superman. Later on, he loses his kryptonite heart, and it's replaced with plutonium. As time passes by, he commits more crimes, thus affecting his body and capabilities. He's gone through several upgrades to replace his damaged parts or modify the affected body parts. This adds to his strength and durability, and he gains regeneration abilities to repair the damages. 2006's Justice again featured this character as a part of the Legion. In the Smallville Season 10, where the Legion was led and assembled by Toyman, Metallo was featured as one of the core members of the team. The Justice League Unlimited featured his character again, and this was probably where almost all the Legion members assembled or featured together. Metallo appeared as a member of the Legion of Doom in the animated movie Justice League Doom. The team was led by Vandal Savage. Metallo, along with the other team members, intended to eliminate humanity by using a solar flare. The mission was soon jeopardized by the Justice League, of course. Lastly, Metallo was also a part of the Legion in the Harley Quinn web series. Next up is one of our all-time favorite Bat villains who also happens to be a part of the Legion. Joker. Joker has to be the most famous supervillain and ultimate foe of Batman. Initially created by Bill Finger, Jerry Robinson, and Bob Kane, the character was first published by DC Comics, and there's been no looking back since then. It gained massive popularity and appeared in many comic books, TV series, and movies, and even got its own solo films. Through these, Joker made many appearances steeped in chaos and madness while driving Batman and Gotham City completely batshit paranoid. But did you know that Joker was a core member of the Legion and made various appearances with the team? With his classic red lips and eyes, along with signature green hair and a big scarred smile, Joker wanted to put a smile on every face in Gotham City. In his initial days, he only wanted to make people laugh, but was always bullied, humiliated, or just forgotten about. Joker's parents were not attentive toward him, which also played a part in his developing personality and psychological trauma. He fell into a chemical waste tank that was responsible for his insanity and severely bleached skin. It tampered with his mental stability, and therefore he developed a mental illness. 2006's Justice features Joker in The Legion of Doom. This wicked team was also featured in DC Rebirth, where they played the main antagonists. The team was led by Lex, and former members such as Joker and Black Manta were eliminated due to their selfish motives. DCEU appointed Ben Affleck in the same year when Joker joined the cinematic universe of DC. The role has been played by various different actors over the course of many years, including Jared Leto, who made his debut in Suicide Squad and also appeared in Birds of Prey. This iconic supervillain is troubled, badass, impulsive, and ruthless, which simply adds more charm to his villainous personality, making him an all-time favorite Bat-villain.
You grovel like a child. That's because I am one. I'm a kid. You don't want to hurt a kid, do you?
Dr. Sivana. Dr. Thaddeus Bodog Sivana is an extremely famous supervillain who was ranked as IGN's 82nd greatest comic book villain of all time. The character was created by Bill Parker and C.C. Beck and was a recurring enemy of Shazam and Captain Marvel. He was a crazy scientist and inventor who was hell-bent on dominating the world. It didn't take him long to get noticed by Captain Marvel and even become the main arch-enemy during the Golden Age. Dr. Sivana made his villainous appearances in Fawcett Captain Marvel stories that were published between 1929 and 1953. He's capable of seeing magic with his left eye and is a certified genius. He possesses a great level of intellect and has even made a mathematical discovery with which he's able to walk through any solid object or even walls. This obviously makes it impossible to catch up to him or even imprison him for his wrongdoings, but the character has so much more potential and persona. Sivana is known as a genius in science and technology, but his childhood trauma is still unresolved, which somehow reflects in his characteristics. He suffered emotional abuse from both his father and brother, which resulted in isolation within his own family. It turned him into a cynical individual who's not capable of acknowledging the good and is simply not empathetic. The character appeared in Shazam and played the antagonist in the film. 2006's Justice featured this character as a part of The Legion of Doom. The NBC television special Legends of the Superheroes also consisted Dr. Sivana, while the group was led by Mordru. And with that, we come to the very end of the video. If you too are an eager fan of the DC and truly appreciate how well they've created and executed The Legion of Doom, make sure to let us know your favorite member from the group. Also, do smash the like button and stay tuned with us for more such videos. Until then, toodaloo. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.
Tell them the man in black sent you.